I was standing in my lawyer's office when I signed the papers that would erase him from my life forever. My grandson had laughed at me 3 weeks earlier, said my memories didn't matter because I'd forget them soon anyway. He didn't know I was recording everything. He didn't know I'd already changed the will. Some people think forgiveness is divine. I think boundaries are. They called me cruel when they found out. But nobody asked why a grandmother would do such a thing to her own blood. If you've ever been dismissed by someone you raised, stay with me. This gets darker before it gets better. My name is Eleanor Hartwell. I'm 79 years old, and I live in a small coastal town in Maine where everyone knows your name and your business. I raised 4 children in the house my husband built with his own hands. Robert died 11 years ago. Heart attack, quick and quiet, like he lived. After he passed, the house felt too big. But I stayed, because it was ours. My grandson, Tyler, was the youngest of my daughter Karen's 3 boys. She had him late, almost 42 when he was born. He was premature, underweight, with lungs that couldn't quite do their job. The hospital bills were devastating. Karen's husband had just lost his job in the recession. They were drowning, so I stepped in. I paid $63,000 over 2 years to keep that boy alive and healthy. I refinanced part of my house to do it. Robert would have done the same. We believed in family. We believed blood took care of blood. Tyler grew up knowing I helped. Karen made sure of that. Every birthday, every Christmas, she'd whisper to him, "Go thank Grandma. She's the reason you're here." And he did thank me. With hugs, with crayon drawings, with gap-toothed smiles that made everything worth it. But children grow, and gratitude dies if it isn't watered. By the time Tyler turned 25, he'd become someone I didn't recognize. He worked in tech, something to do with apps and marketing. He made good money, dressed sharp, talked fast, always on his phone. He visited me less and less. At first, I understood. Young people are busy, they have lives. But then the calls stopped. The texts became one-word replies, and when he did show up, it was always with his hand out. 3 years ago, he asked for $12,000 to invest in a startup. I gave it to him. He never paid it back, never even mentioned it again. 2 years ago, he needed $8,000 for a car down payment. I wrote the check. He traded that car in 6 months later for something flashier. Last year, he asked for $5,000 to help with his girlfriend's rent. I hesitated. He got angry, told me I was selfish, said I had more than I needed, sitting alone in a big house. I gave him the money, and I started keeping a journal. Every request, every dollar, every dismissive comment. I wrote it all down, because I felt something shifting inside me, a coldness, a clarity. I was being used. The breaking point came in October. Tyler showed up unannounced on a Saturday morning. I was in the garden, pulling up the last of the tomatoes before the frost came. My knees ached, my back hurt, but the work kept me grounded. He didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was, just stood there with his phone in his hand, barely looking up. "Grandma, I need to talk to you about something." I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled, still hopeful, still foolish. "Of course, sweetheart. Come inside. I'll make tea." He followed me in but didn't sit. He stood by the kitchen counter tapping his screen. "I'm buying a condo," he said. "Downtown Portland. It's a great investment, but I'm short on the down payment." I felt my chest tighten. "How much are you short?" $25,000. I set the kettle down carefully. My hands were shaking. "Tyler, I've given you nearly $50,000 in the last 3 years. He looked up, annoyed. "And I'm grateful. But this is different. This is an investment. I'll pay you back." "You said that before." "I will this time." "When?" He sighed, looked at me like I was a child. Grandma, you're sitting on a house worth $500,000. You don't need money. I'm trying to build a future. Something snapped inside me. Quiet. Clean. I need to think about it, I said. He frowned. What's there to think about? You're my grandmother. Exactly. I'm your grandmother, not your bank. His face went cold. You know what? Forget it. I'll figure it out myself. He turned to leave. I should have let him go, but I didn't. Tyler, do you remember the hospital bills? He stopped, didn't turn around. What? When you were born, the $63,000 I paid. Do you remember? He turned slowly. His expression was blank. That was 25 years ago, Grandma. I remember it like yesterday. He laughed, actually laughed. Of course you do. You remember everything. For now. I felt the air leave the room. What does that mean? He shrugged. Casual, cruel. You're almost 80. Karen told me you've been forgetting things. Names, dates, where you put your keys. It's normal. But let's be honest. How much longer are you going to remember any of this? I stood there, silent. He kept talking. So maybe it's time to let the people who will remember take care of the decisions, you know? He smiled, like he'd said something wise. Then he left. I stood in that kitchen for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. And then I called my lawyer. His name was Martin Gould. We'd known each other for 30 years. He handled Robert's estate. He helped me with the refinance. He was steady and sharp, even at 73. Eleanor, he said warmly when I walked into his office. Good to see you. What brings you in? I sat down and folded my hands in my lap. I want to change my will. He raised an eyebrow. All right. What changes are we talking about? I want to remove my grandson, Tyler Hartwell, entirely. Martin leaned back. He didn't look surprised. He'd seen worse. May I ask why? I told him everything. The money, the dismissals, the comment about my memory. When I finished, he nodded slowly. You have every right to do this, Eleanor. It's your estate. But I need to ask, are you sure? These decisions can fracture families. My family fractured the day he laughed at me in my own kitchen. Martin picked up his pen. Then let's make it ironclad. It took 3 weeks to finalize everything. During that time, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started recording our conversations. I bought a small voice recorder online. It fit in my pocket. Every time Tyler called or visited, I turned it on. I wanted evidence, not for court, for me. So I'd never doubt myself. So I'd never let guilt win. He called twice in those 3 weeks. Both times to ask about money. The first time, he wanted $1,500 for a weekend trip to New York. He said it was for networking. I said no. He called me selfish and hung up. The second time, he asked if I'd thought about the condo down payment. I said I was still thinking. He sighed, exasperated. Grandma, you're running out of time to be useful. I played that recording 4 times that night. And I felt nothing but peace when I signed the final papers. Martin made the change official. Tyler was removed from the will entirely. His portion, 30% of my estate, was redistributed, 20% to a local literacy charity, 10% to the hospital that saved his life when he was born. A bitter irony I enjoyed more than I should have. The rest stayed with my other grandchildren, the ones who called me just to talk, who visited without asking for anything, who remembered my birthday. Martin placed the documents in a sealed envelope. When do you want them to know? He asked. When I'm gone. He nodded. Understood. But Eleanor, if Tyler asks directly, you're not obligated to lie. I won't lie, I said. I just won't tell him until he asks the right question. Thanksgiving came. Karen insisted I host, like always. I agreed. I made the turkey, the stuffing, the pies. I set the table with Robert's mother's china. Tyler came late. He didn't bring anything, didn't apologize. He sat at the far end of the table, scrolling his phone while the rest of us said grace. During dinner, my oldest grandson, Ben, asked me about a recipe. I started to answer, then paused, forgetting the name of an ingredient. Nutmeg, I said finally, laughing. Getting old. Tyler looked up, smirked. See? Told you. Karen shot him a look. Tyler. What? It's true. She's forgetting stuff. I smiled at him, calm, cold. I forget nutmeg, Tyler, not betrayal. The table went silent. He stared at me. I stared back. Then I stood, excused myself, and went to the kitchen. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just felt ready. 2 months later, Karen called me in tears. Mom, Tyler's in trouble. My heart lurched. Old instincts die hard. What happened? His startup failed. He lost everything. He's being evicted. He needs help. I closed my eyes. How much? 30,000. I was silent. Mom? Karen, I can't. What do you mean you can't? You have the money. I've given him everything I can. I'm done. She gasped. He's your grandson. And I'm his grandmother, not his safety net. Mom, please. No. I hung up. She didn't call me back. 3 weeks later, Tyler showed up at my door. It was snowing. His face was red, his eyes desperate. Grandma, please, I'm begging you. I stood in the doorway. I didn't let him in. Tyler, I've given you everything. You've given me nothing but contempt. I'm sorry. I was stupid. I was wrong. Please. Do you remember what you said to me? That I'd forget soon anyway? He looked down. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. Please. I have nowhere to go. I felt the weight of 79 years on my shoulders. Then you'll learn what I learned a long time ago. You survive. I closed the door. He pounded on it for 10 minutes. Then he left. I sat by the fire and felt nothing but tired. Spring came. I got sick. Pneumonia. The hospital kept me for a week. Ben visited every day. So did my granddaughter, Sophie. Karen came twice, awkward and quiet. Tyler never came. When I got home, there was a letter on my table. It was from him. Grandma, I heard you were sick. I wanted to visit, but I didn't think you'd want to see me. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about what I said. You're right. I took you for granted. I treated you like a resource, not a person. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I hope you get better. Tyler. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in the drawer with all the others. Words are easy. Change is hard. I'm writing this now because I don't know how much time I have left. The will is sealed. Martin has instructions. When I die, Tyler will find out he's been removed. He'll be angry. He'll blame me. He'll tell people I was cruel. And maybe I was. But cruelty is taking someone's love and turning it into currency. I gave him life twice. Once when I paid for his survival. Once when I let him go. Some people think love means enduring everything. I think love means knowing when to stop. If you're listening to this and you've been used by someone you loved, hear me. Your worth is not measured by what you give. It's measured by what you refuse to lose. I kept my dignity. I kept my peace. And I sleep well at night. If someone has made you feel small, share your story below. You're not alone. And remember, forgetting is human. But being forgotten is a choice they make. I chose to be remembered on my terms, not his.